Say, man, you see my crab cakes? Till I'm all alone. If you see my crab cakes, tell her things went wrong. Don't call on the phone and bring a black dog home. I got some Louisiana hot sauce, a little tartar too. Come on, little girl, tell me what you want to do. Them Maryland crab cakes are the best in town. Them Maryland crab cakes are the best in town. So come on, baby, let's get Louisiana down. If you see my crab cake, have you seen my crab cake? If you see my crab cake, tell I'm all alone. Tell her I still love her, and when she come back home.
Now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're listening. Hope you're doing all right. Busy show schedule for you today, as we try to do every day, Monday through Friday, and then, from what I understand, some specials that we do on the weekends. But don't forget the show is being brought to you in part by Cat's Nationwide Luxury Transportation Service. If you're looking for a limousine, look no further than Cat's Nationwide Luxury Transportation Services. I shouldn't be popping no scotches this early in the morning. But 202-351-7496 is how you can get my girl, Cat. 202-351-7496. I'm just pretty possessive. She's mine, all mine. 202-351-7496. Cats Nationwide Luxury Transportation Services, the official limo service of this year's BillyCBoxing Hall of Fame induction weekend, November 16th, 17th, and 18th, up in South Glens Falls, New York. We'll be looking forward to that. Make your plans now. If we don't sell out, we won't even. I don't even want to get into that because we gotta sell out the whole venue, the whole area. We just want nonstop people pouring into that little. Is it a town? I guess it's a town, a hamlet. I don't know. It's like a sneeze and you're through it. That kind of place. But we want you there, regardless. Check out the website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click one of the BillyCBoxing Hall of Fame banners to get all the info. Cats Nationwide Luxury Transportation Service will do you solid. Just back off on Cat, all right? 202-351-7496. Show's also being brought to you in part by Campanaro and Tomkovich. If you need a lawyer, use the ones that keep my ass out of trouble, and that's Campanaro and Tomkovich, 845-221-4099. And, to make things even better, going to get, have your legal issue taken care of. At least you could sit in that office and drool over all the hotties in that office. Jeez, I run red lights just to go in there. All right, if you want to know the truth, I don't stop at stop signs. I don't give a full complete stop. I run through a red light. I drive through school zones a little quicker than you're supposed to, just to get the ticket so I can go visit the Campanaro and Tomkovich office. They're hotties. 845-221-4099. Tell them Billy C sent you, and that I'm going to pick up the consultation fee. 845-221-4099. And, of course, my friends over at the Halftime Bar and Grill, Route 9, South Glens Falls. There's a Friday night fight on. We'll be there. We want you to stop by, talk about boxing with us a little bit, even just watch it, and you'll get some free prizes. The Halftime Bar and Grill, Route 9, South Glens Falls. Give them a call ahead. Beep, beep, beep. Hey, Porky. 518-792-4869. Always great people to hang with. Drink specials and food specials all the time. The outdoor section of the facility is open. Check them out. And if you're man or woman enough, try their wings or their boneless wings with the Billy C hot sauce. Just make sure Craig makes them. 518-792-4869 if you want to call ahead. I just want to address something real quick. My man, on yesterday's show, we always do the mailbag first, and we read all the emails. And, I got this email from someone that identified himself as USS, and I kind of got a little short-fused with him only because, he's left a couple of messages saying, hey, what's with the music, blah, 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 blah. And I just felt, hey, the bottom line is, it's a show, man. It's called an intro and everything else. Well, I got to apologize for USS Curtis Wilbur, who did it. First of all, I said he mustn't be a military person because our military people here in the United States are the smartest, most top-notch people that we have to offer. I mean, if our country does one thing right, and trust me, that's you really got to look hard to see what we've been doing right lately. But there is one thing we do right: we pick the best personnel on this planet to represent us in the military. And I wanted to, I made an assumption that my man USS Curtis Wilbur couldn't have possibly have been in the service because, he wasn't, at least in my opinion at the time, wasn't seeming intelligent. But now I know the truth, and I need to apologize to him publicly, not for any other reason other than my own reasons. And he is part of the military, and not only is he's part of the military, he's one of the brave that have been injured in war. And I apologize for making any reference that he was not part of our military. However, there's an excuse for his own. He apologized to us for his own stupidity, and I love the reason, and I felt that we needed to share it. He says, the bottom line is I just get all riled up when I hear listeners that are so far up Floyd Mayweather's you-know-what that it gets himself, my man USS Curtis Wilbur, thinking outside where he should be. And I'm not going to mention, but we do have a handful of Floyd Mayweather lovers, and he just gets riled up with that. So, hey, no problem on my end, USS Curtis Wilbur. I hope you continue listening to the show. We want more military people like yourself. And as a matter of fact, I believe that we are available on the Armed Forces Network. I'm pretty positive we are. I'm positive we are. So shout out to all of our military people and listeners. But more importantly, our military people do the great job, man. You know, I mean, I don't mind giving up my airport, my plane getting loaded. You ever notice how they do that? You know, the airlines. You know, I hope they're sincere about that. I hope they're sincere because, you know, did you ever notice, like, you're waiting on for an airplane or whatever? And they're like, okay, all right, so any of you military people that are dressed in your fatigues and everything, you get to get on the plane now. You know, it's like, oh, what? If a military guy who's been on duty for the last 3-4 months, he's dying to rip off those army issued clothes and wear some regular street clothes, and he wants to fly home in his regular street clothes, he's not allowed to get on early. Only the guys that are suffering, and gals that are suffering with their army issued clothes. Come on, man, or any military issued clothes. Come on, man. If they can show you proof that they're active, let them on the damn plane first. In front of the coughing, sneezing kids and all those wheelchairs. You know, what's up with that? What's up with that? I mean, hey, no disrespect to the elderly, but have you seen so many people that need wheelchairs? I'm telling you just want to get on that plane first. You know, they wheel them on one at a time. You know, it's like between that and all the kids sneezing and coughing, I feel like I'm on either, you know, the plane for anybody that's over 90 or the play school plane for children's under 5. You know, I mean, come on. I'd rather be surrounded by military personnel any day, especially if they're the hot women kind. But anyway, I just had to straighten that out with USS Curtis Wilbur, my man, and I can definitely relate to him and getting sick of listening to a lot of the Mayweather talk. And speaking of Mayweather, we have a guy that generally gives a lot of Mayweather talk, given quality, but no Mayweather talk here, I think. It says, the only way a guy can be so brash, and this is a comment, this is a response to some comments I made on yesterday's show about, testing positive and promoting and wanting the test, and then all of a sudden you testing positive, He says the only way a guy can be so brash not to think he would test positive is because they never tested under the Olympic rules. They're used to being tested under the Nevada State Athletic Commission or commissions like that. That's where the problem is. The Nevada State Athletic Commission has allowed guys to fight regardless if they tested positive or negative. This is a known fact. USADA has never had a problem outing athletes in any sport. VADA is a brand new, so they are making headlines now for Lamont Peterson and Android Berto. These fools, especially Berto, thought he would be fine because of Conti, but Lamont passed his first test against Conti. First of all, I'm just going to say this. The Nevada State Athletic Commission doesn't search for as many. They're not testing for as many things, PEDs or whatever, that the VADA is. So, I mean, I'm not going to blame that. And the other thing is the Nevada State Athletic Commission and other commissions that are powerful, like New York State Athletic Commission and so on and so forth, New Jersey, you're not required to test for certain things. This was all brought on upon us by Floyd Mayweather, who wanted to take boxing in his own hands. And what's happened is certain fighters are following that line and picking VADA to supervise the testing, which, I don't know, I think it has its pros and cons. I mean, if some of these issues are brought out that that there's contamination in these, in the machines or whatever that's causing these results, that's going to make things even worse. I mean, it's almost better to say that these guys have tested positive and blame them, because if we start seeing a rash of people coming up that are testing positive, that are swearing that they don't take it, it could be incorrectly being, the test could be incorrectly coming up with positives with, normal diet type vitamins or whatever. I don't know. It's an area that I don't know and I don't claim to, but it certainly is interesting, huh?
If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Rosselli Enterprises. Rosselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all. Dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flow boys, tankers, loaders, and a full line of roll-off containers for any job, big or small. Rosselli Enterprises is also the source for all your sand, gravel, and topsoil needs. Visit them on the web at RosselliTrucking.com or call 315-433-5115. That's 315-433-5115 and tell them Billy C sent you.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the ideal computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the number 15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IBO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the number 15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at IBOBoxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day, everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. You are listening to Talking Boxing with Billy C Show. You're checking out the replay on LDL TV. Glad you could join us. Coming up in a little bit, we got Tony Triem. We're going to be doing a Heavyweight Spotlight today. Yes, I know. Usually we like to do them on Thursdays, but we're doing it today. We've been chomping at the bit to go, so get ready for a good one. Heavyweight history coming up with Tony Triem momentarily, so hang tight for that. We're going through the mailbag right now with some emails, and Given Quality gave his point on the why he thinks fighters are being brash about taking a test, because they're just not used to these tests. They're used to just getting regular blood tests from Nevada State Athletic Commission and commissions like that. I think that's kind of foolish on their part, and especially since I was saying yesterday they're paying extra money for these guys to consult them on what to eat, what to take, what not to take, and how to pass these tests, and they're coming up failing. So he says Lamont thought he was in the clear, and that may not have been the reason he really believed it would not show up again. If you're going to try and stand for a cause, then you have to try and be true clean athlete, no drugs and alcohol. If you're taking supplements that are that's not even kosher, he says, because that trash is filled with illegal ingredients. I think that's the point. I think that these guys are taking supplements honestly, not thinking that they're doing anything wrong. If you go into the GNC or something And listen, I've never claimed to be an expert on any. Look at me, I'm a fat bastard. I don't know anything about nutrition. I know that a sausage and pepper sandwich is good, man. I know that what makes a good slice of pizza and a bad slice of pizza. I know that stuff. I know how to cook a cheeseburger just perfect. But the bottom line is, I don't know much about being in top physical condition, but I do think that some of these guys are I don't want to say they're not at fault, but you walk into a regular old vitamin store and you would think that you're not really taking anything that's gonna be illegal. Like I said, these guys are paying specialists to keep them on the straight and narrow. Number one, they got to listen to them, and number two, they have to tell them everything that they're eating and taking and putting in their body. Otherwise, they can't really help them. Given quality is pretty high on the fact that, boxers specifically, because that's all I know of his knowledge, but no drugs, no alcohol. I think that, it would be hard for me to disagree with him here, and it would be hard for me to disagree that Floyd Mayweather, as much as I can't stand the guy, is a poster child for that. And, if we get to look back and thank someone or blame someone down the road for this whole steroid issue, I think Mayweather's name is going to come up. So he's either going to be the guy that we put up on the pedestal or the guy that we stoned to death, But anyway, and I'm only meaning that, not literal. He goes on to say, if you're taking supplements, you need to know what's in them, he says he feels that the Nevada State Athletic Commission doesn't care. I don't know about that. But anyway, moving right along, EQX, excuse me. EQX says, laugh out loud, Berto, go to the Grand Slam. Okay, so he liked my joke. I was saying about Andre Berto getting a little egg on his face. I said not only did he have egg on his face, he had the Grand Slam breakfast on his face. EQX likes my sense of humor. And in case there's someone on the planet that doesn't know what a Grand Slam breakfast is, go swing by your local Denny's. And unless you're black, because they don't let you in there, right? Don't they? Isn't Denny's the one that was like all prejudiced and stuff? If you're not white, if you're not 100% white, we're not taking none of you Italians, none of you blacks, none of you Orientals, none of you's allowed in here into Denny's, right? Anyway, I'm kidding. Go into Denny's and see what the Grand Slam breakfast is. That was on my man Andre Berto's face. EQX says, so Manny's only getting $6 million guaranteed, according to the Nevada State Athletic Commission. WTF. Now, we all know what that is, right? Even I know what that is. He says, really, I feel for this guy. He really needs to get his business in order and get the money he deserves. I know they are saying he's getting the back end. Right, he's getting it in the back end, all right. Well, listen, here's the thing. And this was an argument I had with several people, listeners, and here's the thing. Listen, we could say all day long, Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao. Okay, that seems to be the two names, so I'm going to say that. We could say all along a 50-50 split, right? So let's say $100 million is being split, which it's going to be more than that, but let's say $100 million is being split. Off the top, it's easy to figure 50-50. $50 million goes to Floyd, $50 million goes to Manny, but it's not Floyd's problem that Manny isn't actually getting $50 million. That $50 million of his gets divided up through many, 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 many hands, whereas Floyd really only goes to his hands, and he, sprinkles a little bit from it to his posse, and the rest of the people involved with him. That's not Floyd's fault. I don't blame Floyd for any of that, and the only person that we can blame Manny for only getting $9 million or $6 million, whatever he's getting for the Bradley fight, is Manny. Manny is involved with Bob Arum, and you could also look at the other side of the coin and say, well, $6 million, he's getting 6 here, 6 there, 6 there, 6 here. He's a multi-millionaire time and time again, plus his endorsement dollars, all of that stuff. Could he be making more? Yeah, but who else stepped up to the plate and gave him the deal? So it's a catch-22. he's making millions with Bob Arum. He could be making more without Bob Arum, but at what point could he be doing that? I had said, I think, a week or two ago that, maybe now is the time for Manny to split from Bob Arum. If Manny walked away from Top Rank, he's certainly not going to lose his appeal. And for him to go into a fight with Floyd Mayweather without Bob Arum would be a really nice financial kick for him. And I guarantee you that Floyd would be a lot more workable if it was just Floyd and Manny at the negotiating table. So Hawk says, Kevin Johnson is a clown. He says, Kevin was like a hoe. I'm going to try and do it the way he wrote it, all right? He says, Kevin was like a hoe talking back to Vitali the pin. Vitali heard enough smack talk from Kevin and got out of his recliner and smacked the hell out of Kevin. Then Kevin got all defensive and called the police. I agree that Kevin's a clown. I'm not going to get involved with any of these other comments that my man Hawk made, but I understand. Hawk goes on to say, Lopez has about no name recognition to headline a pay-per-view fight. Good for Lopez to get this shot, but Golden Boy could have found a more popular opponent to headline a pay-per-view, even on short notice, I would think. A good show, by the way. I don't know, man. I mean, listen. What do you want? I want to see the best fighters. You know what, Hawk? I disagree. I don't care about the name, because I want to see the best fighters. Josito Lopez. If there's fans out there that haven't had a chance to see Josito Lopez fight, man, you've missed out on a tough guy. He's a blue collar fighter. He comes at you. He never gives up. He doesn't have the name recognition because he never was with a promoter that got his name out there. He took a lot of tough fights. He's beaten and upset people that he wasn't supposed to win. This is the kind of fighter I do want to see. I agree with you on the fact that it's unfortunate that he's not more of a well-known name, but man, I like the matchup. I really do. But Biggerback says Canelo versus Williams or Kirkland are really good fights. Remember, he's only 21, and Golden Boy, they're bringing him up smoothly, unlike Top Rank, who's having their 30-year-old Mike Jones waiting to fight tomato cans on Pacquiao's undercards. That's a waste of prime years. If you're fighting tomato cans, fight 5 of them in 1 year. Don't wait until Pacquiao fights at 30. I agree. If you're going to be fighting the less than top level opposition, you should be fighting definitely more often. Mike Alvarado is another name that comes to mind. He's older, but he started late too. And I do admit that I like Paul Williams against Alvarez or James Kirkland, but we'll have to wait and see. Bigger Buck has one more. He says, Golden Boy, they do a much better job testing their fighters than Top Rank. Top Rank are very overprotective of their fighters. Look at Chavez and 30-year-old Donaire. Lately, he's been fighting nothing but Mexican cupcakes and a little imported cans from Argentina, where Canelo and Mark Mares have been steadily getting tougher fights. Ortiz, Khan, and Mitchell. Top Rank is a disgrace to boxing. Enough with these coddling, and let's see some real fights. I tell you, it depends which level you're at with Top Rank, because if Top Rank just signs you, a lot of times they'll throw you in with one of their top fighters, and should you win, then you get the coddling. Look at Matt Remillard. Unfortunately, he's in jail right now, but that's exactly what they did with him. He was a blue chip guy coming up, and they Top Rank signs him, and they threw him in with Mikey Garcia, and he gets destroyed. So then he was going to be an opponent for Top Rank, but he got himself in trouble. But great points for my man Bigger Buck. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a break. When I come back, we got Tony Triem. We're going to be talking about the heavyweight division.
Are you ready, America? Then let's get it on with Fight Now TV. It's time, fight fans. Your channel has arrived. All the fights, all the names, all the action. From world-class boxing events to mixed martial arts showdowns and other combat sports matchups, Fight Now TV delivers the hits and more. Call your television provider and tell them you want to get it on with Fight Now TV. For more details, go to fightnow.com.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe, on the web and radio.
He would scoff at a stretch of that man, I would
think. You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. from upstate New York in the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell him Billy C sent ya.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C, the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
And we're back. You are listening to the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C radio show. Check out the website, www.BillyCBoxing.com. Do us a favor, man. I know you want to watch us on Fight Now on your television set. Now you can. Fill out a survey. It'll take you about a minute. Check out the website, www.BillyCBoxing.com. Right on the right-hand side, you're going to see a fight poster. Well, yeah, it's a fight poster. It says AT&T and Fight Now. If you could take a second, fill it out. You, especially if you have AT&T Uverse as your television provider, you will get the Fight Now channel. So take a minute, do that, and we'll appreciate it. Speaking about appreciation, I appreciate this guy joining us this early in the morning. Tony Triem joins us. What's up, brother?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. It's time for your heavyweight spotlight, but since the last time we got together, we had such a fun time, a fantabulous time just talking about all kinds of heavyweights, I figured we would pick up where we left off. What do you think?
I think that's cool, man. Let's do it.
All right, well, listen, last week or almost 2 weeks ago now, we were talking about James Jeffries. You know, that's kind of stuck in my mind. You think he's the best heavyweight of all time? Is that your number one guy?
Absolutely.
Tell us why.
Well, you know, nobody could beat him. He retired undefeated until he came back, and of course he fought Jack Johnson in 1910, July the 4th in Reno, Nevada. The fight of the century, they called it. But, you know, he fought everybody that he could fight that was out there. You know, they criticized him for not fighting Jack Johnson and not fighting, who was the guy from Australia, Billy? The black heavyweight from Australia.
Peter Jackson. Yeah, Peter Jackson.
Oh, Peter, it's early, man. I'm hesitating here. You know, but they criticized him for that, and I can see that, you know, maybe why, but they were just starting. They wasn't even contenders at that time. Jeffries fought back in 1899 to 1905. I mean, you know, the guys that, you know, that they criticized him for hadn't even started fighting yet, or they were just starting their careers, you know, and he fought everybody. He beat everybody, and you can't dispute him being a great prize fighter.
No.
People criticize him, but you can't dispute it. If you really look at his record, and you really look at, you know, who he fought, at the time frame he fought, who was boxing at the time, he was the greatest ever, man.
Well, you know, the funny thing about it is we all talk about, and we said it last time, that, at least in our lifetime, we look at the 60s and early 70s as the greatest era of boxing. But many believe that the next one in line is James Jeffrey's era, and that there were a lot of talented fighters of that time. And when you think about it, it was a tough era because the transition from bare-knuckle boxing to gloved boxing was right smack in the middle of Jeffrey's time. Well,
it was before his time, really, Billy. I think. John L. Sullivan and James A. Corbett fought the first glove fight under the Queensberry rule, which started in 1892. And of course, James A. Corbett beat him, and he was considered. A lot of people consider Corbett as the first or the modern boxer of the era. He started the boxing that they give Muhammad Ali the credit for, and all that BS about Ali. But Corbett was a man that threw you off course. I mean, he came at you at different angles. He never he confused his opponents. Where Ali circled, you always knew what Ali was going to do. He would always circle. He was going to go in a circle, and he's going to throw his jab and throw his jab. Where Jeffries didn't circle. I mean, he would throw his opponents off base. He would get them confused, and that's how he was successful. And then after Corbett, you had Bob Fitzsimmons, which, in my opinion, pound for pound, the best fighter that ever stepped into the ring. He was a 3-time world champion. He fought men most times, not all times, but most times he fought men, and he gave away anywhere from 40 to 60 pounds, and he beat them. And he was the first 3-time world champion. He won the middleweight championship, the light heavyweight championship, and the heavyweight championship of the world. His nickname was Ruby Red or Speckled Bob. His reign was from 1897 to 1899, and he fought them all.
Yeah, and his wife was pretty vocal ringside. I've read a lot of accounts where, she was pretty bad. A lot of people think Carl Froch's girlfriend today is bad, but Fitzsimmons' wife was pretty vocal, wasn't she?
I don't know anything about his wife, to be honest with you, Billy. So I really can't elaborate on that, partner.
Oh, I had read some accounts where she would actually do a lot of the business dealings for Bob Fitzsimmons. So, well, at least that's what I heard. And now, when James Jeffrey, let's jump back to him for a second. It's interesting how you look at him as an undefeated fighter, because here was a guy that, for all intent and purposes, was totally happy, fat, and wealthy on his alfalfa farm, and he really had no intentions of coming back. Which I always found fascinating was, and we talk about how things are crazy in today's world of boxing, but he decided when he had enough prior to his Jack Johnson fight, was that he would pick the 2 guys that would fight for his title, and I even believe he was the referee for that fight. And later on, he claimed he never gave up the title, so he was actually still claiming to be the world champion, wasn't he, when he fought Johnson?
Well, he wasn't beat. You had to be the man that beats the man, and I still feel it should be that way today, even though it's not. But they take titles away from you today and do all kinds of stupid things, and champions at interim and all that kind of junk. But he was never beat in the ring, and he felt, and I sort of agree with him, I retired undefeated. Nobody could beat me, and you're right. He went to his alfalfa farm. He was fat and happy. He bloomed up to over 300 pounds. He trained a lot of prize fighters. But you're right in your comment that he picked the 2 fighters that was going to precede him. And Marvin Hart won the fight, and Marvin Hart became the champion. And yes, Jeffries was the referee. A lot of people question that. It was he was fixing it in his favor. Well, he didn't fix a fight. He never fixed a fight in his life. He wasn't that type of a man, nor was he that type of a prize fighter. He was he was undefeated. He retired undefeated. There was nobody out there to fight. So he didn't see any need in continuing, and he didn't feel that anybody could beat him. He didn't feel that Jack Johnson could beat him when he fought in 1910. And the reason he came back is because of the public. They wanted Jack Johnson stopped, and no one out there could do it. And they felt he could, and of course, as we know, in the 15th round, they stopped the fight before Johnson knocked him out, But Johnson and the Jeffries fight in 1910, I don't know if I'm answering your question or not.
Well, it doesn't matter. I don't even remember what my question is. I'm ready to ask you some other questions. I love talking about this. And James Jeffries, I wrote a note here as you were talking about James Jeffries, and I'm writing peer pressure, because peer pressure was what got him back in the ring. What we started with was he was fat and happy on his alfalfa farm, and really, and the amazing part of this was, the man must have been picking up the newspapers every day and reading articles by guys like Jack London saying, "Save the white race, Jim," and eventually, just to shut everybody up, he did it. Now, just to get in shape, just to get in fighting shape was an accomplishment for him to get back down, to somewhat, fighting weight. And, he did perform well considering he was out for that long, right? I mean, for against a guy that we talked about last time, which arguably could be one of the top three fighters, greatest fighters of all time.
Yes, Johnson could be in the top, absolutely, and is. But, he weighed 300 pounds. Yeah, I'm going by memory here, Billy. I don't have anything in front of me, so I could be wrong, but I'm going to be close. Jeffries was on his alfalfa farm. He weighed over 300 pounds. The public was clamoring to get rid of Jack Johnson because of his silly antics he was pulling as the heavyweight champion of the world. They wanted that gold teeth knocked out of his head and that smile knocked off of his face, as the story goes.
Yeah.
The public and Jack London is a good example that you brought up. It was really after Jeffries to come back and reclaim the title. He was weighing 300 pounds. He lost 68 pounds, I believe. Now, again, I'm going by memory. I could be a little off, on my numbers. I'm an old man. But I think he lost something like 68 pounds in 6 weeks. And, to be fair and honest with you, I feel that weakened him in that much weight loss in that short of a period of time, and then climb into the ring with the heavyweight champion of the world, being Jack Johnson, in 104-degree temperature, which was bad for both of them. I mean, I'm not saying that was advantage to Johnson or a disadvantage to Jeffries, because that was a disadvantage to both, of course. Anybody fighting in 104-degree temperature is going to take a toll on you. But he lasted 15 rounds. And he gave Johnson a good fight. I watched the fight filmed I don't know how many times. I don't think he really dominated at any time during the fight, but he gave a hell of a fight, and he put forth a great effort, and he did his best. And there's no disgrace losing a boxing match. I don't care who you are, you're going to lose, and sometime in your career you're going to lose. And unfortunately, he was unsuccessful in beating Jack Johnson, and Jack Johnson retained the championship, and history goes on, my friend.
Sticking with James Jeffries, there was a couple of fights that he had, and one of them in particular was regarded as really one of the greatest grueling fights of all time, and I'm referring to the Tom Sharkey fight. And, there's been so much discussion about that with the broken rib and sticking through the skin. And, I shudder just the thought of it. I never broke a rib, but when I was in high school, I played football, and I sprained a rib once. And every time you breathe, it hurts, And I'm saying to myself, how could a man withstand a broken rib, whether it indeed was broken or not, let alone sticking through his skin? And then the other side of the coin is, how strong is the other guy to be able to break a human rib with a punch? I mean, what's your thoughts on that whole story?
Sailor Tom Sharkey was a bad man, and he, those guys back then, they didn't wear gloves like they wear today.
What did they have? 4? I know that some of the smaller guys wore 2 and 4 ounce gloves. What were the heavyweights wearing?
4 ounce, and sometimes they wore a glove. It's kind of like a driving glove. You know, we drive in today. You know, they call it a driving glove. I don't know if I'm explaining that.
Yeah, like a baseball batting glove,
example.
Almost like a batting glove, right?
Yeah, sort of like a batting glove. Okay, yeah, that's a good example.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, there was really bare-knuckle fighting. Right. You know, all they had was a little piece of leather across their hands. They didn't pad, you know, they didn't have hand wraps and all that stuff like they do today, you know. So it's just a thin piece of leather across your hand, and you're battling. You know, it was devastating. I can't fathom being hit that way. You know, when I was boxing and Golden Gloves, of course, I mean, I was no prize fighter by any stretch of imagination, but professional, I mean. You know, we trained with 16-ounce gloves, and we fought with 16-ounce gloves in the amateurs when I was an amateur prize fighter. Back then, it was just like bare knuckle fighting. You know, there was nothing there. There's no padding there. You was hitting with brute force, and Jeffries hit harder than any man out there. Yeah. And he'd break your jaw, he'd break your ribs. I mean, he was powerful.
Yeah, he was a guy that I would love to have been able to see him with today's fighters, but let's jump ahead. What's your assessment of Rocky Marciano? And before you answer, you know, Rocky Marciano, you know, we all know the stories behind him and everything else, and you know, he's one of my favorite fighters. But when I get to the discussion about his skill, I always say that I feel he belongs where he does because he didn't have the skill. What he was good at was overcoming a skill deficit, so to speak, with his conditioning and heart and determination, because really he didn't do anything right. You know, I mean, by the book anyway. How would you describe it? Am I off base on that? Or, I mean, do you think that the guy possessed skill? I know some people say, well, you know what, he was a lot better than people thought. His defense was better than people thought, and all that kind of stuff.
Marciano, as everybody knows, was the heavyweight champion of the world back in the 50s. He did things unorthodox, as you said. He kind of did that Archie Moore clamshell cover-up, you know, with a hand over and a hand under, and then come at you at all angles. He threw punches from every angle. They were wide. They call haymakers, if you will. He didn't do things right as a prize fighter. He took a lot of punches to land one. He was just tough. You know, he just had a jaw of granite and determination that he was going to win. And the most favorite fight of mine with Marciano was with Edgar Charles. I believe it was their second fight. Again, I'm going by memory, and I'm an old man, so I could be wrong here. I think it was his second fight with Edgar Charles, when Edgar Charles split the whole crown of his nose open.
Yeah. You know,
and he was going to stop that fight, you know, and Marciano had to go in and knock him out, and Edgar Charles was winning. And Marciano, I mean, give it all he had and give him hell, and went in there and knocked him out and he retained his title, kept his title.
You know, the funny thing about it, and you just jogged my old memory, you know, if he were fighting today, if Rocky Marciano were fighting today, he doesn't retire undefeated, because I think the ringside doctors would have stopped a lot of his fights. That particular fight that you're referring to, literally his nose was flapping. You know, it was separated from his face. You know, they would have stopped that fight. I'm sure of it. And there were many others that he was involved in where you would have to think that they would have stopped the fights today.
Absolutely. No, he would have lost his championship if he was fighting today. Absolutely. He would have, doctors would have stepped in on that. You betcha. The referee, well, probably they wouldn't even went to a doctor. The referee would have probably stopped it today. The referees are overcautious today, and they'd have stopped it.
You know, what do you think of Floyd Patterson? You know, Floyd Patterson, a lot of people refer to him as, you know, a great fighter, and you know, yeah, he had some ups and downs. But I thought he was like more of a product of good management. I thought that Customato moved him well. They successfully avoided Sonny Liston for a while. And, what's your assessment of him?
Patterson will never go down as a great heavyweight champion in this historian's opinion. Patterson was a good boxer. They called him the Rabbit, as you know, and everybody knows. His fights were chosen well for him. He's kind of like a Mayweather in choosing fights, and who he's going to fight. And the funny story about Patterson, I always liked when Ingmar Johansson knocked him down, and I think he knocked him down 7 times in the first round. And Johansson, in an interview, asked him, was you surprised you knocked the champ down? And Johansson says, no, I'm not surprised I knocked him down. I'm surprised he got up. As many times as he got up. Patterson had heart. You'd knock him down, he was going to get up. He's going to come back at you. And you got to give him credit there, Billy. Was he a great fighter? No. Was he a great champion? No. Was his fights picked and chosen carefully? Yes. Was his record padded so that he could become heavyweight champ and when he fought Archie Moore? Yes. And in fact, it's funny you brought up Floyd Patterson because in 1956, he was the first prize fighter I ever saw in person. I saw his fight when he fought Alvin Williams at the Kansas City Armory in Kansas City, Missouri. I was 10 years old. It was the first 56 years ago. My dad took me to that fight. He says, we got to go see this kid, Tone. He goes, he wants to be heavyweight champion of the world, and he thinks he's going to be. He said, I want to go. We ought to go see him. So my dad took me to that fight when I was 10 years old. The first fight I was ever at, and we sat at front row ringside, and Patterson knocked out Alvin Williams in the 3rd round. I got before you was born.
Hey, I got to meet him a couple of times in person. He actually lived in New Paltz, and I always tell a funny story about Floyd Patterson. I was in a hardware store, and I happened to have been in there. I don't even know what the hell I was in there for, but I'm in a hardware store, and all of a sudden I go walking around one of the aisles, and there's Floyd Patterson standing there. Now, wheelbarrow wheels, you know what a wheelbarrow wheel looks like? You have the rubber ones for a big wheelbarrow, and then you have those, they call them garden wheelbarrows, where there's like a plastic, it's like you got the metal hub, and then there's like a hard plastic wheel around it. It's not really designed to wheel rocks or cement or something like that. More like, bring your plants to a place that you're going to plant them. You know the kind of wheelbarrows I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, the ones with those hard plastic wheels. Well, he's standing there, and the guy that worked at the place comes over to him. He says, "Hey, Mr. Patterson, how you doing? Can I help you with something?" He says, "Yeah, I need a new wheel." And he whips out one of those plastic wheels that he separated from the metal hub. Now, if you know the wheel I'm talking about, usually you buy them in one piece. Like, you don't take the plastic piece off, right? And I'm standing there talking to him, looking at him, and my eyes open up. My jaw hits the floor. The guy that worked at the store, his jaw hits the floor, and he says, "How the hell did you get that? How did you get that plastic off of there?" And Floyd says, "It wasn't easy." He says, "Well, you didn't have to do that." And he hands him the whole wheel. And the look on Floyd Patterson's face was he kind of got embarrassed, like, "Oh man, now I feel like an idiot," But I just every time Floyd Patterson's name gets mentioned, I think of that. But Ezra Charles was an underrated fighter. I mean, people forget how good he was at light heavyweight. And how, that death, he had killed a guy in the ring, and it kind of changed his whole style of fighting. And it always made me wonder what we would have gotten from, what was his nickname, the Cincinnati Cobra, I think? Was that what it was? Or what was it?
Ezra Charles was known as the Cincinnati Cobra. He was heavyweight champ from 1949 to 1951.
Yeah, but he was a very good light heavyweight. He was, they classify him as one of the best, right?
Absolutely. He was probably the best heavyweight of all time, Ezra Charles.
You mean light heavyweight?
A lot of people say Archie Moore, and I disagree with that, although Archie Moore had the most fights of probably anybody, with over 300 and some in his career. But Ezzard Charles, by far, one of the greatest light heavyweights that ever lived. Absolutely.
Now, you know, I know we're supposed to be talking about heavyweights, but now that we jumped into the light heavyweight, they usually mention when people that are in the know and they start mentioning light heavyweights, and as the Charles name comes out, another guy's name, more recent time, has to be discussed in the same conversation at least. I'm not, going to make a statement of whether he was better or not, but Michael Spinks has to be up there in the conversation. What do you think?
Michael Spinks, the Spinks Jinx, was a phenomenal prize fighter. He deserves a lot of credit. He's a Hall of Famer. It's funny, they always mention the Canastota, the International Boxing Hall of Fame, but he was inducted into the World Boxing Hall of Fame before he was ever inducted into the Canastota. Spinks pulled off one of the best upsets of all time when he beat Larry Holmes. As a light heavyweight, he fought them all. He couldn't be beat, and you can't take anything away from Spinks at all. Of the two brothers, he was by far the best.
You mentioned Michael Spinks, and we're already out of time. But I'm going to mention. No,
we can't be. We just started.
I know. I told you that. I told you. But the funny thing about every time somebody mentions Michael Spinks, I get immediately thrown, my mindset anyway, with Larry Holmes, and everyone I've talked to, whether they be a fan, whether they be a boxing expert, so to speak, or even a former boxer that fought in his time, all tell me the same thing, that they think Larry Holmes was one of the greatest fighters of all time. I think I'm in the minority because I don't think that. I remember watching him, and I hated the way he fought. I couldn't stand, yes, he had a good jab, but I couldn't stand the way his defense was. He kind of patted your hands down, your gloves down. And I even asked one of the hardest punchers known in the sport, Ernie Shavers. I said, Ernie, was Larry Holmes really that good? And he looked at me and he said, Billy, Larry Holmes was that good. I want to know from Tony Triem, was Larry Holmes that good?
Larry Holmes is probably of modern time now I'm speaking. We're not talking about back in the day. We're talking modern time. Larry Holmes is probably one of the most underrated heavyweights out there, Billy, to be honest with you. He fought them all, and he fought, history repeats itself. Larry Holmes was despised as a prize fighter because he beat the idiot, Ali.
Yeah, but that was the end of Ali's career. So
it was, but they despised him for it, because he beat the idiot, as I call him and refer to him. But back in the day, in the first gloved heavyweight championship of the world, under the Queensberry rule, in 1982, I think it was, when John L. Sullivan fought James J. Corbett, and James J. Corbett beat John L. Sullivan. The first sports hero of all time was John L. Sullivan, and the most popular man in that era. Everybody loved him, and he beat him. Corbett never got credit because they beat the people's favorite man of all time, which was John L. Sullivan. Now, come back 100 years later, why people like Ali, I'll never understand it. Was he could he box? Yes. Was he fun to watch? Yes. The Ali shuffle, his boxing skills, his circling, and his throwing bunches and punches, yes, he did that. He was pretty to watch. But he has more controversial decisions than any heavyweight champion in history, and we can go into that sometime. I know we don't have time today, but we can go into that sometime in one of our conversations. But Larry Holmes beat Ali when Ali was popular, and he never got the credit that he deserves. And he fought everybody and beat them all until Spinks got in the ring with him and upset him. So, Holmes was better than you're giving him credit for, Larry. Absolutely. He was a lot better fighter than you're giving him credit for, in my opinion.
No, most people do. I'm clearly in the minority about that. And, I got to argue with you about this before I let you go. The John L. Sullivan, this is what gets me, and you say history repeats itself 100 years later. Well, almost 100 years prior, about 80 years prior, there was another guy that was a sports hero, and he doesn't get the credit that he deserves in the United States. And he's my guy, the guy I wrote my book on, Tom Molyneux. This was a guy that was a freed slave that did all of those things. And he was, at the time, the most popular sports guy of the time. He really changed the way things were. And today he's virtually forgotten. And you're right how history repeats itself because, 100 years later, or in this case 90 years later, John L. Sullivan, and then, 100 years after that, again, almost 90 years after that, Muhammad Ali and so on and so forth. I mean, it's a sport that definitely repeats itself.
But Billy, you're missing the boat there. Molyneux was never champion of the world. He was the first heavyweight champ of America.
Right. No, I understand.
But he was never a champion of the world. And you're right. When you're talking about Molyneux and what you're saying, there's no argument for me on that. He was one of the best, and I've read your story on him. You did a beautiful job on writing that, but he was never a world champion, and he fought when he was the first. We had heavyweight champs of England, heavyweight champs of America. Then you go under Queensberry, the lineal champions. Then you go to the alphabet champions, and the list goes on and on and on with champions. And Molyneux is number one, the first heavyweight champion of America.
He was robbed in England, man. Come on, don't make me break out the videotapes of that fight, man. Oh, that's right, they didn't have videos back then. But the thing is he was robbed, man. That's who invented that line. We was robbed, It was Tom Molyneux.
Sure, he was, and he was great, and that's how he won his freedom from slavery.
I know.
By boxing.
I know. He fought.
He was a slave. I think he was nicknamed the Virginia Slave. You would know better than me. You wrote the story. Wasn't he the Virginia Slave?
Well, they refer to him as that.
His nickname.
Yeah. Well, they called him a lot of things. The Black Moor, and he was. The most interesting part of that whole he fought for his freedom thing, and the way I look at it, and maybe I'm wrong, but I try to be a realist, is that his owner, so to speak, Algernon Molyneux, was honored his word, which is what they never did back in those days. I mean, that's why as soon as he says, "Okay, Tom, you're free," the guy just left that plantation, exit stage left. I mean, he was like, "I'm not going to wait around for this guy to change his mind," and he was gone. Because you couldn't trust them. I mean, this was a guy that was born into slavery. But anyway, Tony, another great time talking about the heavyweights, and obviously we have more to go from here. So until next time, my friend. We will have to put this on hold, and we'll get back. Maybe we'll I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about the Ali era, because all of those guys he beat. And I know you're not a big fan of Ali, but there were guys, and I know we touched on it last time. There were guys in that era that were top 10 contenders that would have cleaned up the heavyweight divisions of the last 20 years. So we should get into that next time.
That would be a great subject. Ali, I hate him. And I met him before he was heavyweight champ of the world. I met him when he was Cassius Clay. I was, what I want to find, and I kind of like to get your opinion on this before you go, since you brought it up, if you got just a minute. Do you think that the truth that come out about the Cassius Clay-Sonny Liston fight, the first one I'm talking about in 1964 at the Miami Beach Convention Center, which I was at, and Sonny Liston sat in the corner in the 7th round and refused to come out and give the idiot the title. Do you think that the truth had come out about that fight after Ali's dead?
Yep.
And I'm not wishing Ali to die early. I'm not wishing anything bad on Ali. Don't misinterpret that statement. I wish no ill to Ali. I'm not wanting anybody to die. I don't wish that on anybody. But do you think the truth will come out about that fight?
100%. My favorite Sonny Liston book was The Devil and Sonny Liston, and that author, Peter Torsch, or whatever his name, I forget his name, I think it's Torsch is the last name, made a lot of interesting points in that book, and I do believe that it will come out. Hey, listen, everyone that ever knew Sonny Liston or fought Sonny Liston, and one of the most vocal guys is Chuck Wepner, and they've all said the same thing. There is no way in hell on his worst day would Sonny Liston have lost to Muhammad Ali. There was just no way. I always compare Sonny Liston. You see, you touched a nerve with me with Sonny Liston because he's like one of my favorites. And I always say this. I always go, well, most people can look at Mike Tyson, and most people can associate, Mike Tyson with the baddest man on the planet, a devastating puncher, blah, 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 blah. I said, well, but there's also one other part of Mike Tyson that we've learned over the, since he's retired. We've learned that maybe he wasn't as badass as he acted. He's kind of a weak guy, like not physically, but mentally. And we could see, knowing that now, you can see, what happened to him and why his downfall was like that. But that's the complete opposite of what they say about Sonny Liston. Sonny Liston enjoyed breaking somebody's face open. Sonny Liston enjoyed hearing bones cracked. He was a nasty SOB. I mean, and when you have that going for you, along with that size and that freakish jab and those gorilla-length arms. I mean, this guy had a freak arm. What was his arm reach? Something really freaky, right? Like 80-something inches?
Yeah, 84 inches.
Yeah, which, was like, unheard of, and I think I think he's underrated. I think Sonny Liston, in the large scope of the sport of boxing, is underrated. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time. And yes, I know I went off on a tangent there, but yes, I do believe that the truth will come out.
Well, what we ought to do one of these days, Billy, and maybe the next time we talk and we're doing a show, maybe we can talk about the lip. And we can talk about our man, Sonny Liston, because he's one of my favorite also. My favorite of all time is Jack Dempsey, and that's one we haven't touched on really. We really need to talk about Dempsey because he could whip any of them. But I think we need to really go in depth about Sonny, and he is way underrated as a heavyweight. He's in my top 10 of all time, and he will remain there. He will always remain there. He's a story that needs to be talked about, and of course he was with the mob, and there's a lot of things that goes on, and he lived here in Vegas, and when he was here in Vegas, he was fun to be around, and everybody considers Liston such a badass and a bad man, but he loved kids. He had a gentle heart when it come to kids, and when we have time, I know you got to go. I know I'm running off the mouth, and you don't have time for this, but we need to talk about him, the man. And what he did for kids, and what he did for a young kid that was here that was had polio here in Las Vegas, and how he raised money for this child and did things. Liston was a good man. He really was. He was a bad man in the ring, but he was a good man outside of the ring. And we ought to talk about him sometime. That'd be a great story.
Unless you had him in the back of a paddy wagon.
He was there a lot.
Yeah, then you didn't want to get near him, and you didn't want to.
He was intimidating.
Yeah, you didn't want to feed him a few drinks either. I mean,
he drank vodka straight.
No, I know.
He didn't mix it with anything. He just poured it in a glass and drank it straight vodka. I mean, I don't know how he did it. That's one drink I don't know how he did, but that was funny.
The funny thing is, too, I know we're way over here, but you mentioned Jack Dempsey. He's one of my favorites too, and. Jack Dempsey, as vicious as that guy was. Now, a lot of people don't even realize about Jack Dempsey's career and the size he was. He wasn't a big guy, really. Not only heavyweights, but as he was coming up, how he learned how to fight and who he fought and everything else. But the funniest thing in my opinion, about Jack Dempsey, and as vicious as he was inside the ring, he had this squeaky high voice, like somebody kept kicking him into privates all the time. And he was embarrassed with that. He was embarrassed about his voice. My favorite book I read of his was the book he wrote with his daughter. And listen, I guess what we got about 100 more episodes to do together in the heavyweight division alone, because it's endless. It's endless. We could just go on and on. And I like jumping from fighter to fighter to fighter. It's amazing how, and I believe boxing is one of the only sports that you can do that with. From each breath you take, you can just, they're all, we say linear, they're all tied together, and the sport of boxing is like no other, in my opinion.
I live it and sleep it, Billy, and I've done it for 56 years now. It's my passion, and I love the sport, and I hope that comes through in me talking with you, that it's a passion of mine, and you're right. It's the only sport, in my opinion. People go to baseball and basketball, but you got all these teammates. It's a team effort. When it comes to boxing, you're the man against the man. You're in there. I don't care about, all those guys in your corner, and yes, they're important, and yes, you got to have them because you need a cut man, you need a trainer, you need a promoter, you need all kinds of stuff to make you a prize fighter. And in one of your episodes, you talked about, I don't know when it was a few days ago, or it could have been a week ago, time flies, but you were talking about, how a prize fighter needs to pay his dues, to be like, and you were mentioning other sports, But Billy, and I was sitting there listening to you, and you're saying that, and I'm thinking, what makes you think they don't pay their dues? I mean, what are they doing in the gym every day?
Right.
What are they doing in their sparring? What are they doing in their press conferences? They are paying their dues. What are they doing in their amateur career before they became professional prize fighters? You was listing all kinds of things, and I'm sitting there. I said, Billy, where are you going with this? I didn't quite get what you were going. Do you remember that episode?
You know what? It all runs as one for me. And the thing is you're right, because the dedication and the dues that they pay is what's forcing them to get up in the morning at 5 o'clock to run, or at least the old day fighters do. See, today
Absolutely.
They do other things. They think running on a treadmill is equal to running on the road, and that's a whole nother story. But hey, listen, we're just putting more and more topics in the bank, brother, and we got,
I love it, man.
We got to write that.
I hope we can do this more frequently than we've been doing it, Billy, and I hope the fans, your fan base, enjoys it. As I enjoy talking with you, you're a champ.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate your time, especially getting up this early. And well, until next time, my friend, we will pick this up where we left off.
Thanks, man.
All right, take care.
All right.
That's my main man, Tony Triem, calling us from Las Vegas, City of Sin, my favorite place in the world. Hey, I know we went over. We got to take a break. We'll be right back.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com and place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Beat Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh?
What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C. sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. show. He's Billy C., and you're not. Sucks to be you.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C. first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
And we're back. You are listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C., a radio show. You're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. And if you don't have the Fight Now channel on your sports channel lineup, then you need to call your local television provider and tell them that you want it. It's that simple. Pick up the phone and call your TV provider, whether it's satellite dish or cable, and tell them you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup. They know about it, and they'll add it, but they need you to call them and tell them, especially everybody that's in the AT&T U-verse market. If you pay your television bill to AT&T U-verse, they got it, man. All you need to do is pick up the phone and tell them that you want it. When I did the broadcast this past weekend, or they did a TV broadcast, I did the blow-by-blow out of Tampa. I was shocked at how many people. So I didn't even realize that Tampa was one of those markets that AT&T U-verse is in, Tampa area. So, hey, if you're watching the show, if you're listening to the show, you want to watch it on television, you need to call your TV provider. For all the information about Fight Now, you can find it on the website, www.fightnow.com. My man Dax just popped into the chat room and then just popped out before I told him good luck with his little test today that he's going through. And I'm not going to get into it, but he's got my thoughts with him. So, hey, drop Dax an email if you get a chance. And speaking of thoughts and prayers and that kind of stuff, Glove to Glove, I told you about Glove to Glove. It's an organization that was formed, and my man Debma and his wife my man Davema and his wife Debma, all right, Dave and Deb Wilcox to be exact. They picked up the baton, so to speak, and they're running with Glove to Glove. And what Glove to Glove is it's an organization keeps everybody up to date on what's going on with people involved in the sport of boxing, and it's just kind of a collection of us that give our thoughts and prayers and stuff when needed. Well, one of my friends and one of my favorite fighters who needs your help and in terms of prayers and thoughts and everything else is my man Alex, the Bronx Bomber Ramos, and I got an update from Dave and Deb about him that I wanted to share with you guys. Now, Jackie Richardson, who's one of his main supporters and helps Alex out a lot, is giving us an up to date report on him. Now, apparently, they took. I'm not going to get into all the exact wording and everything else because it's way beyond my pronunciation ability. But he had some fluids removed from his spinal cord via a spinal tap. And, according to Jackie, she said within minutes after removing this fluid, he was back to where he was, which they call his baseline responses and stuff like that, to 5 years ago. This was basically without slurring speech and that kind of thing. And everybody was very excited about it. His imbalance stopped, and he was able to be looking a lot better than he did. Well, the success of that has gotten him to the next step, which is going to be a 7-day hospital stay, where during this time they're going to be draining fluids not from his spine, but this time from his brain. And they need to drain these fluids so that they could eventually, if everything goes well, install a shunt in his brain, which will allow any excess fluid that's building up, which they believe is causing some of these issues that he's undergoing, to drain out through another part of the body, in a more natural way, which should help him. Now, this has been scheduled tentatively for the end of this month, May 30th, and he's going to be there for 7 days. Now, Jackie Richardson has asked people and encouraged people to try and get a hold of Alex Ramos and, give him your thoughts and say hello. He's a little nervous about everything, and as tough as he was inside the ring, he's only human, and he would really, really welcome the support of you guys, especially our listeners and viewers. So if you can, if you could take a moment out of your busy schedule during the week in which he's going to be there. Now, he's going to be at the Ventura County Medical Center, and that's in, of course, Ventura, California. He's tentatively scheduled to go in on May 30th for 1 full week. And, if you get a chance, contact Alex Ramos. Tell him you said hi. Tell him you're a fan. And tell him Billy C sent you. He'll yell at you as soon as you mention Billy C. He's always very, very receptive when we see each other. So, if you get a minute, definitely give him a shout. I'm sure he would enjoy it. And I want to just give a shout-out and a many thanks to Jackie Richardson for all the work she does for Alex Ramos, and, of course, to Dave and Debbie for all the work they do for not only Alex Ramos, but everyone else in the sport with their and Rusty Rubin, too. I want to give him a shout-out for the Glove to Glove organization. So, on a good note, I hate that. That was a good note. I mean, Alex is doing good, so... David Price now is this month's special. He's like at the butcher shop. You got this month's special on. Well, he's this month's special in the heavyweight division, and he's starting to come of age. I think that his performance against Sam Sexton actually earned him a spot in the discussions of being a legitimate contender. Now, it's a shame that he and Tyson Fury didn't get to fight, while they're at the same level, so to speak. Tyson Fury, if you recall, several months ago, vacated his titles, which David Price just won when he fought Sam Sexton this past weekend. But, he decided to vacate the Commonwealth and British heavyweight titles so he could become ranked and get on the world scene, which I think is going to prove to be premature for Tyson Fury. David Price and his team wanted to fight Tyson Fury. They thought it would be a big money fight in England, and I agree with them. But Tyson Fury decided to leave, and David Price decided to stay. And as a result, Tyson Fury, when's his next fight? Well, David Price, they're talking about him, as far as Frank Maloney's concerned, his promoter, manager, whatever he is, says that, listen, this guy, not only does he have a great amateur career, he's showing us that, he's a special fighter. This was his 13th fight. He's talking about his devastating knockout win over Sam Sexton this past Saturday. He says, what's up next? Well, we were hoping that we were going to meet Tyson Fury, but, Tyson Fury left. And now we're going to have to look for bigger and better things. Now he's saying that they're going to make a decision this week over the next week or so, and announce when his next fight's going to be. Now they've had much interest here in the States of coming over here and fighting in front of us and getting us to get to know David Price. And he says, listen, we are evaluating all of our options. And we're not, we're not saying no to the States, but we're looking at him possibly being a world champion as early as his 20th fight. Now, he's got 13, I believe, under his belt, so it doesn't look like that might be that far of a stretch, considering the landscape of the heavyweight division. I think he's a breath of fresh air, and I wish nothing but the best from him. And one thing I see with him is that he's a more refined fighter than Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, although I've been following him, and I'm kind of a Tyson Fury fan for quite some time, I got to be honest, when I said it, I don't really see an improvement with him. I don't think Tyson Fury has improved over the last year. You could look at some old footage of him, and you would have a hard sell to convince me that the man's gotten better. He delivers his jab way too low. David Price seems like a more refined fighter. Now, both of their chins, in my opinion, are questionable. And that's going to separate, a domestic champion from a world champion, is the ability to absorb a punch. Now, when you look at the heavyweight picture right now, it would be hard to find any heavyweights out there that... first of all, are as big as these two guys, David Price and Tyson Fury. But the difference between David Price and Tyson Fury when it comes to delivering punches, I think that David Price, his punches land harder, and they seem to land harder because I believe that they're landing more flushly than Tyson Fury's is. Tyson Fury looks like he should have a lot more power. The other intangible that I like about David Price is that when you look at him, his body, his 6'8" body, is in better proportion, in my opinion, than Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury has those famous skinny little legs, which I think is going to be his downfall. Now, there's been some great fighters in the day that have had skinny legs that have defied the odds. Sugar Ray Robinson is one that comes to mind. In the female ranks, a fighter I work very closely with, and obviously I'm close with, Chevelle Fist of Steel Halbach, a pound-for-pound fighter. She's got extremely skinny little legs and ankles and stuff, and she can take a punch. So, my little rule doesn't always work out, but generally it does. And in more cases than not, it does. And I look at Tyson Fury and I see those skinny little chicken legs, and I say to myself, man, when he gets connected, when somebody connects with him, a legitimate heavyweight, man, he's going to be going CPs, as I used to say to my kids when they were little. They're having their own. Yeah, I'm going to be a grandfather, yeah. I'm not happy about it. Not for the kid, just the title, grandfather. Oh, God, that makes me sound old. But anyway, David Price, he's a fighter I'm looking at. We'll wonder what he's going to do as he weighs out his options for his next fight. So, coming up here on the show, we got some more news. I got some stuff I want to talk about concerning Derek Chisora and also Roy Jones Jr. One of the discussions that we had a couple weeks back or whatever was about fighters and not knowing when to say when and all this stuff. Well, Roy Jones Jr. has become the poster child of, you're wearing out your welcome between him and Bernard Hopkins. And speaking of which, those two guys have something in common today, so we'll get to that later on in the show. And one last thing before I take a break here. Yeah, we went over last time. Tony Triem, a Heavyweight Spotlight. I love doing that segment with my man Tony, and we got a lot of good stuff in store for you guys in the near future. And one of them is breaking out certain segments of ours that we do. And, that is one of them, of course, the Heavyweight Spotlight, which Tony and I are going to be doing. And we're going to be separating it out. Now, beginning next time, now we experimented with it the last time we did it. And we did some different things, and I didn't get a chance to do it this time, but we experimented with it last time to break it out and offer it almost as a second show or a different show. And we've decided to do that. Now, I didn't do it today, but we decided to do that from here on in with the Heavyweight Spotlight. And we're also going to be doing it with the Blast from the Past. That's another thing that Alex and I have discussed several times, and we're figuring out the logistics of how to do that. And then, of course, the final phase, which we'll have the video on all of the contributors. So as we're calling them and waking them up, and they're allowed to sit on the phone in their feety pajamas and doing whatever they do without us seeing them, well, now they're going to have to get up. They're going to actually have to take a shower, and they're going to have to be ready to look professional, just like I have to do every day, damn it.
The 2012 Summer Olympic Games unfold in 5 months in London. The honor and the history of playing host goes back a long way. How long? That's next on Sports Shorts with me, the Sports Princess.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Stouffer's, helping bring your family together with wholesome dinner options, even on the busiest of nights. Find dinner table ideas to bring your family together at letsfixdinner.com. To get kids involved in dinnertime conversation, ask specific questions, not broad ones. Instead of what happened today at school, try what was the best thing that happened today. The more specific you are, the more they'll have to say. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
Legend has it that the Olympics go back to Hercules, but let's leave Greek mythology out of it. The modern games opened in 1896. Since Athens couldn't afford to put them on, a businessman ponied up the coin. Pole vaulting, weightlifting, shot put, and swimming, few of the handful of events. Since those days, some of the original sports remain. Others come and go, depending on the whims of the International Olympic Committee. Australia, France, Germany, and China have hosted summer games, and this will be the third time for London. As for the winter games, the U.S. has hosted them 4 times since they started in 1924 in France, featuring sports like alpine cross-country skiing, figure skating, and such. Between the summer and the winter games, there are hundreds of sports and thousands of athletes. You never know what city is going to get a crack at hosting next. I'm the Sports Princess with Sports Shorts.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Every week, 2 hours of the best boxing talk on the radio.
Mike Tyson looked like he put on some pounds. He was fat. He went into McDonald's and he just said to them, hey, give me 6 of everything on the menu. He put on 2 watches and covered 2 time zones. I'm talking fat here. Got on a scale the other day and it said, come on, one of you guys got to get off. Last thing I heard is that he jumped into the ocean and he left a ring around the continent. He's fat.
Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Talking Boxing with Billy C.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the ~1 show in the country, Talking Boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
St. Jimmy's coming down across the alleyway, up on the boulevard like a zip gun on parade. Lights on the silhouette, he's just a buttonette, coming at you on the count of 1.
And we're back. You are listening. What are you listening to, man? What the hell are you listening to? You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C radio show, and you're watching us on the Fight Now television channel. And you need to call your local television provider and tell them that you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup. Don't forget, every night is Fight Night on Fight Now, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Check out their website for the latest listings, www.fightnow.com. And speaking of now, don't forget about, well, not now, after the show. Don't forget about our Thumbs Up, Thumbs Down. It's a little mini show. It's like, gives you a quick, I'd say about 7 to 8 minutes worth of, what's going on in the sport, at least as far as I'm concerned, good things and bad things. Today we got mostly good things. Imagine that, mostly good things. So, that's sponsored by BillyCBoxing.com. And, if you're longing for a boxing website, they've seemed to diminish, right? Boxing websites have gone down in the toilet. Yeah, there's a lot of them, but they've all become garbage. Everybody's focusing on Facebook and everything else, which is good. I mean, we work hard at social media as well, but, I, for one, I kind of like going to a website and reading about the latest news, maybe following my favorite writer, and just being caught, being brought up to date, and being able to catch up on some stuff in the sport, and that's what we offer on BillyCBoxing.com. No pop-ups, no BS, And the chat room, you know, a lot of people come in just here now for the show, but I'm noticing more and more people popping in throughout the day, which was its original intent. We want it to be a functioning chat room. The problem is that nobody goes there until the show is on. So if you want a nice place, you know, to talk boxing, you know, direct some people over there. Hang out, use the chat room. You know, we just don't want you if you're a jerk. If you're a jerk, we don't want you. Go find another chat room. There's plenty of jerk chat rooms around. Rico Ramos, he's used to be a former world champion. Now he's just a regular old contender in the super bantamweight division. He's returning to the ring June 23rd. Now, originally, he was supposed to take on Jonathan Romero in a 10-round fight, but apparently Romero had to pull out, and it was announced yesterday that he fractures his thumb. So, therefore, actually, it wasn't he fractured his thumb in a fight that took place against Adolfo Landeros. You know, you schedule a fight, a big fight like against Rico Ramos, and you take, you know, you just can't get away, and you continue with another fight, and this is what happens. You break your thumb, and now, you know, a payday on television, everything else goes down the toilet. Well, Efren Esquivis is taking his spot, and he's been announced as the new Rico Ramos opponent, which is going to be taking place on June 23rd. So keep your eye open for that one. One other thing I wanted to mention about Derek Chisora, before I get into Roy Jones and some other stuff. Derek Chisora was in Luxembourg yesterday to pick up his license, and you know, he made a comment. He made a quote, and he said, you know, I had plenty of opportunities to be licensed by other countries, but I chose Luxembourg because they were very respectful towards me, very accommodating, and they're all very friendly, and I look forward to making them proud. You know, what I found that statement interesting because, you know, a lot of people were treating him, mistreating him, I thought, based on that. Now, he did have a past of doing some crazy things, but I think a lot of people looked negatively on him at that post Klitschko-Chisora press conference with Chisora having that issue with David Haye. And David Haye, you know, like the sissy girl that he is, you know, has quietly hid behind the older brother, so to speak. And Derek Chisora has been man enough to stand there and be the shield, the guy that takes the brunt of the stuff. And David Haye, true to his form and true to the type of person I believe he is, he just sits back and, you know, is a wimp. You know, he's praying. I think he's scared of Chisora. I think Chisora is going to beat the hell out of him. Tell you the truth, I think Chisora is going to knock him out. And I can't wait. I can't wait. Because all I know is this. If Chisora comes in this fight out of shape and then just basically loses to David Haye, and David Haye gets another shot at Klitschko, and then, you know, does what he did, which he will do. Because, see, he's not a warrior. David Haye is not a warrior. Yeah, he goes in and he fights and he's got some skill and everything else, but he's not a warrior. And I say a warrior is a unique fighter because a warrior doesn't have that fear factor of being knocked out or hurt. A warrior is like, bring it on, baby. You know, it's either going to be me getting knocked out or you going to get knocked out. That's a warrior. You know, not everyone's a warrior. Like no disrespect, but Floyd Mayweather is not a warrior. Floyd Mayweather is a boxer. He's an intelligent guy. He wants to hit you, but he don't want to get hit. He's afraid of getting hit. He's afraid of getting knocked out. There's no question about it. And I'm not saying this because I can't stand the guy. And I don't mean to ruffle any tail feathers of the Floyd Mayweather lovers out there. But the bottom line is he's no warrior. You know, Floyd Mayweather is scared to get knocked out. You know, and so am I. And so is most people on the planet. So, I'm not knocking Floyd for that. But a warrior has this different mentality. A warrior is not afraid. That fear of that isn't there. You know, the Arturo Gottis, the Rocky Marcianos, who's never been knocked out, the Jack Dempseys, the guys that just, went after you and did not give two craps about whether they were going to get knocked out or you were going to get knocked out. The Marvin Hagler against Tommy Hearns fights when they both went at it and knew somebody was going to sleep and figured let's go to Betty by as quickly as possible. So I mean, those warrior mentalities, I do think that the warrior mentality belongs to Derek Chisora. It clearly doesn't belong to David Haye. He's no warrior. He's more of and I think that Floyd Mayweather even has more heart and will than what do they call it? Pride than David Haye. David Haye doesn't have any pride. Floyd Mayweather, when he finally loses, if he does, I'm sure he's not going to be making an excuse right there. Although he has made excuses in the past, I think that he'll make an excuse eventually because that's the way Floyd is. He's a bully, but I don't think he would be doing it as characterless and as classless as David Haye did with the toe. But there's something else. The people of Luxembourg happen to be very proud of Derek Chisora. As a matter of fact, they're adopting him, and they want him to be known from now on. And he claims that he's going to enter the ring against David Haye in July as the Red Lion of Luxembourg. Pretty interesting. Well, British guy, going to Germany, gets his license, gets treated with, nothing but respect. I like it. I like it. What I don't like is Roy Jones Jr. continuing his career. Why, man? WTF. WTF, man. What's up with Roy Jones? He's got a record of 55 wins, 8 losses, 40 coming by knockout currently. Former gazillion-time champion, right? He's done it all. He's got nothing left to prove. He obviously needs money because there's no other explanation for this. Now he's going in to fight a highly ranked, at least by one of the organizations, light heavyweight in Dorwid Kostecki. Now I don't know if that's pronounced David or Dorwid. It's Dorwid is how it's written, in my opinion. But Kostecki is 39 wins, 1 loss, and 25 of his wins coming by knockout. Guess what? He's from Poland. Yeah, he's a Polish fighter. And he said yesterday, because I believe today or tomorrow actually is the press conference, but he says, Roy was my idol, the only fighter I loved to watch. But that was then, this is now, and it's my time to beat him now. And I got to beat my hero. And Kostecki was quoted as saying that. Kostecki only has that 1 loss, and it was 6 years ago. He says, Roy's coming to my country, and I'm going to be a great host. But as soon as we step in the ring, that's going to change. And they asked Roy Jones about, what his thoughts were getting ready to go to Poland. And he says, I'm ready to go to Poland. I'm pumped. I can't wait for the press conference, which is tomorrow. I'm flying into Warsaw Wednesday morning, flying from Chicago. So it's like flying from one Polish city to another, making fun of, the distances between the major Polish cities, which obviously he's exaggerating because it's going to take him from Chicago to Poland is going to be a pretty long plane ride. But he says, seriously, I'm looking forward to seeing Poland. I'm only staying a short time now because I'm training harder than I ever have. And I'll have more time when I come back for the fight on June 30th. I know how proud of a nation Poland is and how hard they are working to make a living. With all that said, he thinks he's got a good chance against Kostecki on June 30th. I just say, why, man? Why? I mean, and this is what is my problem. My problem is the fact that here's a guy that's clearly a Hall of Fame fighter. Whether he continues his career now, fighting these kinds of fights, and he's being brought in as the opponent or whatever, or whether he walked away, I just believe either way he's a Hall of Famer. But it's the memory of him that I think he's putting a blemish on at this point in time. Now, he's not the only one. You know, we talk about all the late great fighters and everything else. Tony Triem and I just mentioned a bunch of them in terms of the heavyweight division. But the other divisions are no different. There's plenty of fighters that we consider great that hung on way too long. The greatest actually hung on way too long, Sugar Ray Robinson. So did the other greatest, Muhammad Ali. He hung on a little too long. You know, you could argue and say Larry Holmes did. I mean, most fighters do. I think there's less fighters that didn't. You know, Rocky Marciano, Lennox Lewis in the heavyweight division. They didn't hang around too long and walked away on top. Roy Jones Jr., I think at some point in time, decided that let me make as much money as I can. And that's the route he's taken. If he could pick up another couple of titles, maybe win a couple of major fights along the way, all the better. And I think he's fallen short with it. And, you know, he, like Antonio Tarver, are waiting much too long to end it. Antonio Tarver and Roy Jones. Roy Jones not as regular as Antonio Tarver, but Roy's got a gig as a ringside analyst, just like Antonio Tarver. I think Tarver does I actually think Tarver does a better job than Roy, but Roy has gotten better than the first time his first stint with HBO was talking about, it was Roy talking about Roy Jones Jr., you know, and, you know, like there was 3 different people there, but, you know, I just think he's waiting too long, man. He's in trouble. He's in trouble. Now, does Kostecki, you know, is he a whirlwind fighter? Is this a guy that, you know, is somebody that, you know, Roy Jones has a chance of beating? Sure, he's got a chance of beating him, but it's unlikely. I love this one, man. In the middleweight division, we have 2 young fighters that are, you know, going from that prospect to contender level. You know, you're a young fighter, you're a rookie fighter, you're young, you become a prospect. And you work at a prospect, then you become a contender. And then once you're a contender, you get into the world title shot picture. But very rarely today, and we were talking about this yesterday, very rarely today do we see 2 young fighters go at it. More or less, we see 2 fighters that get coddled all the way up, and then they get thrown into a title shot, and we don't see what we expect. Eloy Perez is a good example of that, and then he gets his title shot and gets blown out. We just recently saw 2 good fighters go at it in Raymond Serrano and hard hitter Kareem Mayfield, and Mayfield, who had the more you know, his resume, his fight schedule was progressively increased, his level of opposition, where Ray Serrano was pretty much coddled all the way up until the Mayfield fight, and we all saw what happened as a result of that. Well, I got to give credit to Patrick Maweski and Chris Fitzpatrick. Both of these guys are in the middleweight division. Both are entering that contender status. Majeski is Maweski is 18-1 with 12 knockouts, and Chris Fitzpatrick is 15-1 with a draw and 6 knockouts. They're going at it, man. They're going for the vacant NEBF middleweight title. It's taking place July 7th in Atlantic City. I love this fight, and I'll tell you, I give a lot of credit to both these young fighters for stepping up and fighting each other. I think it will make all the difference there. So, Greg Cohen Promotions, I should say. They just signed on 20-1 cruiserweight Eric Danger Fields, as in Rodney Danger. No, Dangerfield. Get it? Rod or Dangerfield? No. He's 20-1 with 15 knockouts. They just signed him to a promotional deal. He's only 29 years old. He's out of Oklahoma, and he's rated in the top 15 by the WBA. He won the Golden Gloves championship, the national championship in 2005 and 2006 as a heavyweight, and his he's going to be announcing his first fight under Greg Cohen Promotions pretty soon. Now, I've heard some rumor about Greg Cohen and some deals that he's got cooking, and one of them happens to be in the state of New York, outside the New York State Athletic Commission's jurisdiction. However, we'll keep our eyes and ears peeled and ready. What's keep your eyes peeled, keep your nose to the grindstone, and what's your ears? What do you keep your ears open? Is that it? Keep your eyes peeled and your ears open and your mouth shut. Keep your eyes peeled and your mouth shut. You understand what I'm talking about? Keep your mouth shut, I oughta. It's the old gangster talk, right? But I'm talking about the old gangster talk, not the yo gangster. Not that kind of gangster, no. I'm talking about, okay, rabbit. Where's Rocky hiding, rabbit? No. That's Bugs Bunny. Sorry. I need a coffee. But, Chavez, not Chavez Jr., not Chavez Sr., but the other Chavez, the Omar Chavez, the businessman Chavez. Many people thought that Omar Chavez was the best Chavez outside of Papa Chavez. Compared to Chavez, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. and Omar Chavez, many experts felt that Omar Chavez was the better fighter, and he's got a record of 28-1. He also has a draw. He's got 21 knockouts. Now, that one loss, that came at the hands of another blood fighter, and Jorge Paez, the son of the other Paez, George Paez. And I say Jorge Paez, it's George Paez. But his fight, Paez Jr., beat Omar, the businessman Chavez, the last time they fought. Well, it's looking like they're going to have a rematch. And Paez Jr.'s 31 wins, 4 losses, and a draw, with 19 of his wins coming by knockout. And he's welcoming the opportunity to fight Omar Chavez a second time and give him his second loss. So we'll see what's going on there. And finally, 2 more things real quick. They held a purse bid yesterday in Panama for the WBA super middleweight title. Now, the champion, Carole Balze, who's got a record of 25 wins and 2 losses, 18 come by knockout, and the interim WBA champion, which is Brian McGee, who's got a record of 36 wins, 4 losses, and a draw, 25 knockouts. The purse bid was for these 2 guys to fight. Now, the winner of the purse bid happened to have been Camp McGee. So the interim titleist, his team outbid Universum, who's Balze's promoter, by $20,000. $287,700 won the purse bid, and like I said, Universum bid $20,000 cheaper than that. So McGee's team got it. We will see what's going on. They're looking for TV bids right now, and they're going to see what they get. But that's who won the purse bid. It's going to be announced soon, when and where, and all that happy stuff. And one last thing, finally, the real last thing, is what I'm going to mention is the Carl Froch Lucien Bute fight, which is coming up this weekend. Froch is being Froch, he's guaranteed a victory. He says, he respects Bute, thinks that Bute is one of the best fighters in the division. He says he's also very respectful for Lucien Bute to come and face Froch in his own hometown or his backyard, however you want to look at it. He says, I think, he feels that he felt that he had to do it, but he still gives him a lot of credit for coming over to England and fighting him. But he says, unfortunately for Lucien Bute, he's going to get beat. And I promise, and he says, and I quote, this is Carl Froch, I promise that I'm going to beat him. He's coming over here. He's going to get beat here. I'm going to become the IBF world champion. I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure I win this belt. I love the fight. I said I did when it first was announced, and I still do now. Carl Froch, Lucien Bute, I just hope that Froch and Bute, the end result of that fight, the winner needs to fight Andre Ward again. I think if Froch does indeed win the fight, my question is, does Ward need to fight him again, or can Ward fight Dawson then? If Bute beats Froch, I feel that Dawson has to fight Bute. At least in my opinion, he does. But if for some reason Froch beat Bute, maybe not so much. He already beat, Andre Ward already beat Froch, but maybe we force him into fight him again. I just think that Andre Ward needs to have closure on the super middleweight division before he moves up to light heavyweight, unless Chad Dawson moves down in weight, which would be pretty cool. I think that would be pretty cool. I got to call John Scully and find out what the deal is with that, what he thinks about that, and if it's going to be coming to that point or what. And speaking of coming to that point, you got to make sure that you, if you've always been dreaming about, being a fighter and all that stuff, what you need to do is you need to get on and sign up for the fantasy boxing camp that Gleason's Gym offers. They do it every year. Visit our website right now, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and on the right-hand side you will see the Gleason's Gym banner, and that banner, well, it's going to take you right to their website where you can sign up for the boxing fantasy camp, and we want to make you a star. So if you sign up, let us know, and we'll put your name in the hat. We're going to draw a winner, and we want to follow you around for your whole experience through your fantasy boxing camp. You can get to Gleason's by visiting our website, click the banner, or you can call them direct, 718-797-2872. As soon as you sign up for the boxing fantasy camp, let us know, and we'll get you in the running, all right?
Wake up. It's time for the...
It's too early for a trivia question.
It's too early for a trivia question. One of my favorite times of the day when we do the trivia question, and I get to stump you guys. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is being sponsored by StrictlyBusinessBoxing.com. Check out my friends over at StrictlyBusinessBoxing.com, and also the Whitehall Athletic Club. Check it out, www.whitehallathleticClub.com. We plan on doing a bunch of shows. Now, I was going to announce the date today, but it looks like the New York State Athletic Commission is dragging their feet, once again. And I got kind of word that unofficially they canceled not one but two of the dates that the Whitehall Athletic Club has put in. So we're looking at a third right now. So as soon as we get that official, I will fill you in on that. Check it out, www.Whitehall Athletic Club. Who fought the most fights from 1940 through 1949? Now, if you know this answer, we got a great prize on the line for you. It's a copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. It's a simulation game. I love it, and it's worth about $40. So if you know who fought the most fights from 1940 to 1949, you got to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. Who fought the most fights from 1940 to 1949? On the line is the Title Bout Championship computer game. Go to our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click the Title Bout Championship computer game banner. It's on the left-hand side of the screen, and that'll tell you all about the game. That could be yours if you know this question, that you got to email me the correct answer, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. Who fought the most fights from 1940 to 1949? Good luck to everyone that thinks, and I say thinks, they know that answer.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being brought to us by Campanaro and Tomkovich. That's right, if you're looking for a lawyer for whatever your legal needs are, let Campanaro and Tomkovich knock out your legal problem. Give them a call today, 845-221-4099. 845-221-4099. Tell them Billy C sent you, and then I'll pick up the consultation fee. And when you're drooling over all the gorgeous women in that office, tell them Billy C said hello. 845-221-4099. 888-866-9999. On this day, May 22nd, in 1993, Roy Jones Jr. wins a 12-round decision over Bernard Hopkins to win the vacant IBF World Middleweight title, and it took place on this day, May 22nd, in 1993, in Washington, D.C. Man, it took us all those years to watch it again, right? Well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? But anyway, I got one more thing to remember. I meant to say I had one more thing for you to remember. I can hardly remember what I was supposed to say, but make sure you tune in tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. There's only one channel, the Fight Now channel. Call your local television provider right now and tell them that you want the Fight Now channel added to your sports channel lineup. For all the information about Fight Now, you can find out through their website, www.fightnow.com. See you all tomorrow. Ciao, baby.